Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Dr. Angel Storm. Thank you so much for joining me today. I was asked to do this video in one of my other YouTube videos, and so I hope this video will help you understand emotional maturity, which is something that you definitely need to develop anytime in your life, but especially if you've gone through narcissistic abuse. Understanding how to regulate your emotions and how to disconnect yourself emotionally from the narcissist is one of the key pillars of recovering from narcissistic abuse and moving forward in your life and making sure that you have healthy relationships and that you're making good choices in terms of when you connect with people. So your friends, your work relations, your family members, and things like that. Emotional maturity encompasses a large range of things that you need to know how to do with your emotions. So it depends on your school of thought and things like that, but typically there are 6 levels of emotional maturity that we're talking about that encompass or incorporate emotional maturity. So these would be emotional responsibility, emotional honesty, emotional openness, emotional assertiveness, emotional understanding, and emotional detachment, which is one of the things that I just mentioned you really need to know how to do when you are recovering from narcissistic abuse. So these 6 things typically make up emotional maturity. So emotional maturity is not just one thing, and obviously underneath each one of these 6 categories, there's a lot of work and a lot of components that go into each one of those. So I just kind of want to break these down. I don't have time to go into each one super in depth, but I do want to kind of give you a mile marker that you can go by. So when we talk about emotional responsibility, this means that that you understand you are in control of your emotions, that regardless of your circumstances, regardless of what people say to you, what is done to you, you are still ultimately in control of your emotions. And again, I have a video where I've talked about the difference between reacting and responding, and this would definitely fall under emotional responsibility, that you are responsible for responding and not reacting. And if you find yourself reacting just out of instinct to a certain trigger or certain person, a certain situation, you need to develop emotional responsibility and recognize that you have outsourced too much of your power to a person, a place, a circumstance, a memory, whatever it might be, and you need to take that back. Emotional honesty, this is something that a lot of people who tend to be victims of narcissistic abuse struggle with, okay? Because a lot of them will practice passive aggressiveness, and emotional honesty is the opposite of this. This is being able to put words to your emotions. Hey, I'm actually feeling really hurt. That's not okay. When you said this is how that made me feel. Can we talk about that? Would you like to explain that to me? This is what I thought I heard you say. When you said this to me, this is what I thought I heard you say. This is how I interpreted it. Did I interpret that correctly? Or did you have a different meaning in mind? So being able to put words to your emotions, being able to voice when you are upset or when you are angry at somebody versus just enacting that emotion. When you're upset, instead of just calling people names and saying a bunch of hurtful things, actually taking time to reflect and say, why do I feel this way? Truly, why do I feel this way? And then explaining that to that person and having an open dialogue. So that's honesty. And the next one kind of goes with that, emotional openness. This is when you are in control of your emotions and you understand who are healthy people and who are not healthy people. But just because you're around an unhealthy person doesn't mean that you shut down emotionally, internally towards yourself, which is something that a lot of people do as a coping mechanism, as a defensive skill, especially when they're in an abusive situation. But developing emotional openness, again, each one of these things are always first with yourself. So if I'm not open or honest with my emotions personally, like to myself, if I keep trying to deny that I feel a certain way, no, I'm not hurt, no, I'm not sad, that person has no effect over me, when really they do. When really all I think about and all I'm ruminating over is what that person said or didn't say or did or didn't do towards me, I'm lying to myself. Most lies originate towards other people because we've lied to ourselves first. So these are always building emotional maturity, and building trust, building character, and those types of things. That all always is an inward process first. Because if I'm not, for example, if I lie to myself about being on time or going to the gym or keeping my obligations, with the words that I will use towards myself, with how I will communicate with myself, if I'm not honest with myself in those areas, why would other people be honest with me? And why would I be honest with other people when I can't do it to myself first? So these are things that you need to process for your own self. So emotional openness, first of all, again, being aware. Okay, you know what? Yeah, I do feel this way. I'm not going to shut off my feelings just because this person is toxic. Okay, it's not safe for me to share my true feelings, my true thoughts, or whatever, be myself around that person. But I'm still aware, consciously in myself, how I feel, what I'm thinking, what I want. And if given the opportunity, I can communicate that in such a way that does not put me at risk, nor does it make me a victim, but I can explain openly and honestly with somebody, even if they are not my friend, if they are not my ally. I can explain to them how and why I'm feeling a certain way. Emotional assertiveness has to do with boundaries. And again, another reason why developing these levels and going through the process of building emotional maturity is so important with specifically when you have gone through narcissistic abuse, is so that you understand when somebody is trampling on your emotions, that is a red flag. The reason that you have emotions are to help you not only stay alive, but to help you evolve as well. And so when you are getting some red flags that you know, like, hey, this is not a safe person, this person does not respect my boundaries, you're ready to swoop in with emotional assertiveness. Hey, you know what? That actually is not okay. I don't feel safe with you speaking this way towards me, or something that you have done just right now when you said this or did this or whatever. It doesn't make me feel as though I am able to voice my true feelings or opinions on this subject in an open way. Being able to set up boundaries and tell yourself, it's okay for me to not connect anymore and to not allow this person to take any more of my energy, which a lot of people, again, I've mentioned this before many times, INFJs, these super empaths tend to be the number one target of narcissists. And the reason for that is because you don't have an off button. If you haven't learned emotional assertiveness, if you don't know how to tell people no emotionally, then you're an easy supply. And so when you recognize that somebody is harming you, it's okay for you to be assertive and not allowing that person to connect with you any longer, which I will talk about more in just a minute. And number 5, the 5th level of this is emotional understanding. So again, each one of these have many layers to them, but I wanted to pick out the things that I thought were most important for people who are recovering from narcissistic abuse and talk about those specific issues. So emotional understanding, the thing that I think is most important to understand about this is that you have emotions for a reason, and that there are multiple reasons why you could be reacting to a certain situation, to a person, to a circumstance, to an event, whatever, a place. There's many different levels of that, right? And one of the ways that you can start to uncover some of these reasonings for your reaction is by going through the 5 whys, which I've talked a lot about on this channel already, but If you want to go through that quick Instagram training that I did on my Instagram page, the link is in the description of this video. You can go through that. But when you truly can get to the bottom of why you're reacting a certain way, you will have a greater level of understanding. So, for example, if you find yourself just getting angry, right? Anger is actually a secondary emotion. So by you feeling anger, that tells me that there's at least 2 other emotions that you're actually feeling, but it's coming out in the form of anger. A lot of times it's grief. It could be sadness. It could be a deep betrayal, some sort of pain that you're still harboring. And so if you have a deeper level of understanding and understanding that there's more emotions than happy, sad, angry, right? That there are a lot of other things that could be going on. When you can identify actually where the root of this circumstance or this person or this event is triggering, then you can start sorting through all of the levels of emotions that go along with that trigger. So understanding that there's many different levels to things, and being able to actually identify it, right? Because if you're saying that makes me angry, okay, that might be true, but there's a better truth in the word that you're using of anger, right? There's something that's more comprehensive within that term that needs to get uncovered. And the last one, emotional detachment. This is by far the most important thing that you need to be able to do. You need to be able to detach yourself emotionally from circumstances, from words that are spoken to you, from things that happen to you. A lot of times when people are going through narcissistic abuse recovery, they want to understand why, right? Well, when I understand why this happened, why they did this, why they thought that, why they acted this way, why I was put through this, then I can begin the recovery process. I can't tell you how many times I've heard this. And quite honestly, I had thought that as well at one point in my life. When I understand why this is all occurring, then I can start healing. But honestly, that doesn't always happen that way. We think of healing as a linear thing. First, I will understand. Then I will be able to sort through and reason out, how this happened and why it happened and things like I could have done different, and when this person said this, I should have done this, or when they, acted this way towards me, I could have done this. And you want your healing to go like this, step by step by step. But a lot of times it doesn't go that way. And more importantly, it doesn't go in that order. So detaching yourself from your experience, this is just for a moment. This is to say, okay, I won't have understanding right now. I won't be able to understand why all of this stuff happened to me. But you know what? I need to let go of this experience that I've gone through, and I need to focus on me, on myself, on what I need right now. As you start to heal yourself, you're able to go back into memories and experiences that you've had with a narcissist to be able to heal those specific things. But until you have given yourself the push in the right direction, you're not going to be able to do that. And so being able to detach yourself from your experiences, your memories, the narcissists themselves, any third parties that you need to, any social groups or constructs that you need to, in order to start your process of healing, is part of this emotional detachment. You need to understand that how people treat you is not a reflection of you all of the time. It can be a reflection of what's going on with them. And the sooner that you can not let this kind of stuff bother you, you develop emotional resiliency, then the quicker you will not only be able to recover from narcissistic abuse, but you'll start to have more clarity about what's going on within this thing that we call narcissistic abuse. You'll understand it. Until then, you won't be able to understand it, because your emotions are clouding the ability to be able to see clearly into what happened. And quite honestly, I've said this before, even if we could give you a reason right now, hey, this is the reason, it wouldn't be good enough. it just wouldn't be a good enough reason because it won't make sense to you because you're not the narcissist. The narcissist thinks about things very differently than you do. And I have a whole video where I talk about this specifically. Was any of it real? Was any of the experience that I had with a narcissist real? And in that video, I explained to you that what you're calling real and what the narcissist is calling real are two different things. Was it real to the narcissist? Yes, absolutely it was. But it doesn't match your definition of real. And this is why developing the ability to detach yourself emotionally when things are not going your way, when you're being confused. Part of the confusion is keeping you in this cycle of toxic ruminations that you keep thinking about what happened, how the narcissist treated you, what they said to you, all of this stuff, but it never leads to any resolution. It just keeps you stuck in the same cycle. Learning to detach yourself emotionally from the abuse that has happened to you, so from your actual experiences, from your memories of the experience, and from the narcissist is going to help you be able to recover quicker and ultimately get the understanding that you want to have as you're in that emotional confusion cycle. So I hope this video has kind of helped you understand some of the tenets of developing emotional maturity. The long and the short of it, emotional maturity just means that circumstances happen, things happen, even tragic and deliberate things can happen, unfortunately. And when those things happen, I'm able to still control my emotions. I am in full, complete control of my emotions and my thoughts about my emotions. I'm able to respond when I'm ready to respond. Nobody will have the control to make me have an outburst, or I won't be put into a situation where I can't stop crying or can't stop doing toxic rumination. I have complete control over my emotions and how I give those out. This is part of taking back your power. This is part of learning how to control who uses you as a supply, or when you connect with people so that they can't just tap into you whenever they want. This is you choosing, okay, I choose to connect to you, and I can choose to disconnect from you at any given moment. This is what emotional maturity means at its essence, is that you have complete control over your emotional power, over your emotional energy, and over your thought life. You are able to rationally think about how to respond in a situation. You aren't an automatic reaction, feed to the narcissist or to anybody else. This takes time to develop, but this is ultimately the goal, because when you can control your own emotions, nobody else can control you. Nobody else will ever be able to have that power. So you guys, I hope this video has helped you. And if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to my channel below and turn on the little bell so that you're notified whenever I upload a new video to this channel.